It's the last day of the year. It's been a wild year from running the diverse knit along in March and April, and then starting to design my first pair of socks, followed by my next 3 pairs of socks and a shawl. In 2021, I also designed 1, 2, 3, 4 garments, none of which are published yet, but the first of them will be published in just a few days. So I thought it would be a good time to check in with you all and talk a little bit about what I'm making lately and my upcoming releases. So welcome to 2022. By the time you see this, it'll be the new year, and I hope you and your family are safe, healthy, and enjoying a joyful and peaceful holiday season. It's been quite a year, and there's lots of designs and things that I've made that I wanted to share with you about. So I'm gonna get right into it. Let's start with what I'm wearing. So I'll insert some footage here, but I am wearing the Transition Slipover, which is a classic cable vest with a side button band that's kind of like my twist on the classic cable vest. I designed this to be reversible, so it has a scoop side and a v-neck side, and it feels like I've been working on this forever, so I'm really glad to finally be getting this out into the world. So the Transition Slipover will be available on Ravelry, Etsy, and Payhip on January 11th, that's a Tuesday. And to be the first to find out about it, I would highly suggest you join my newsletter, which the information of where you can find me and everything I talk about is, as always, available below in the description box. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is that I've updated the structure of my Ko-fi membership a little bit. So in case you don't know, I have a Ko-fi membership program, which is similar to Patreon, but it's a little bit easier for me to operate, and I administrate it basically through emails. It's a monthly subscription, and it comes in 3 tiers, a $6 tier, a $10 tier, and a $15 tier, and it just helps me cover my expenses and work on my anti-racism blog work on my website, and it supports my family, which I'm immensely grateful for. So for all my Ko-fi supporters, thank you so much, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody else knows that the $10 and $15 tiers include immediate access to my latest pattern. So that means that when you sign up, you'll have access to all the posts on Ko-fi, and also when new patterns come out, I'll be posting a free code to that pattern on via email and on Slack, so that all the supporters at those levels can receive the pattern for free. It's just my way of giving back and thanking all those who support me regularly. And so yeah, if you sign up before the release of this vest at the top 2 tier levels, then you'll receive this pattern for free in your inbox as soon as it's live. So check that out if you're interested. I'll put the link below. And let's talk a little bit more about this vest. So I reached out to Woolfolk Yarn to ask for your support on this vest quite a while ago, so it does feel like I've been doing this like forever, and I'm really excited to finally get to share it. But here is some of the yarn that I've got on hand still. The vest is knit with Woolfolk Tove, which is their very bouncy, very round Aran weight yarn. I think it's something like 10 plies or something ridiculous. It's like so many plies, and in case you didn't know, the more plies that a worsted spun yarn has, the more bounce and twist and roundness it'll have. Let's see if I can do this a little close up here. So because of all those plies and how round and bouncy it is, I think it's just perfect for cables. I think cables really do look so nice in this yarn. I like this rope going up here, that's my favorite. So I really do love this yarn. I like obviously grossly overestimated how much yarn I was gonna need because it's quite oversized, but it actually ended up using quite a lot less yarn than it needed to. And I understand that this is not a super affordable yarn, and I want to make sure that my patterns are accessible to you all, especially for those who might not be in the United States, who might not have access to this yarn. So on my Instagram, I'll be sharing oh, I'm sorry, my hair is like so hot under this light, so it's like I'm struggling. All right, I'm gonna stop touching my hair, I promise. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so on Instagram, I'll be sharing a tester roundup that'll have the beautiful finished knits that my testers have made on all different bodies and lots of different yarns of all price ranges. So I just want to make sure that you know that you don't have to knit this pattern in Woolfolk Tove if you don't want to, although I really love this yarn and I've always wanted to use it on personal projects, so it was such a joy to be able to knit with it. Highly recommend this yarn if you can get it, and if not, there's lots of other options, and I'll be sharing those on my Instagram shortly, so hit follow in there, and I'll probably write a newsletter about that too with like tester roundups, just so you can see what it looks like in different yarns and different colors. So that's coming on January 11th. Yeah. I forgot if I mentioned it, but if you join my newsletter, there'll be a small discount. And if you join, of course, like I said, if you join my coffee at the higher tiers, pattern will be free. So check those links out below. The other thing I wanted to show, which I'm wearing, is this shirt here. This is the Grain Line Lark, I believe, which I sewed up very recently. I intended to sew this up in the turtleneck view, which comes in like a add-on pack. So they have like a regular t-shirt with sleeve options and neck options, and then they have an expansion pack, which is like a separate pattern that you have to buy, with pieces for a turtleneck and I think a cowl neck and a dress option. So I initially meant to make this, let me take off my toe so you can see. I initially decided to make this in a turtleneck option because I thought it would be so cute to style with the transition slip over for photos, but I accidentally cut out the scoop neck piece for the front and the back. And even though that's technically a mess up, I actually really love it. I'm really proud of my sewing on this one. I think this is the neatest knit sewing that I've ever done. I really struggle with sewing knits, and this time I just kind of gave up on doing twin stitching because my machine really doesn't seem to like doing twin stitching, and I just zigzagged the hems and it turned out pretty well, I think. It looks neat enough. And I've said this like 100 million times, but it's my first winter in the Midwest. So I'm busily trying to sew up all the merino fabric. This is merino jersey that I purchased from the fabric store in Australia. So I have this exact same fabric in 3 more colors that I'm planning to sew up soon. Hopefully I'll have time this weekend to sew up at least one more thing. But basically I want to make 1 pair of base layer leggings and 2 more shirts. Because I have no base layers. All my base layers are from, they're like the Uniqlo Heattech ones from before I had kids, and now I'm 2 sizes bigger. And Japanese sizes run really small, so currently I'm like a Uniqlo size medium. And all the ones I have are, I think, size extra small. And I just realized I have a twist on the seam here. That's gonna bother me. That's okay. Or not, I don't know. You decide. You know, like when that shoulder seam, you didn't line it up and it doesn't go the same way. Anyway, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. It's handmade. It's gonna be okay. So I'm going to be making 2 more shirts. Hopefully one of them I'll remember to cut out the right turtleneck piece, which attaches to the crew neck. So if you wanted to sew it with a turtleneck piece, then you have to cut out the crew neck of the original pattern, but I cut out the scoop. Generally speaking, I prefer scoop or V because I don't like having, you know, something right up against my neck, which is why both sides of the transition slip over is like there's a scoop and there's a V. Those are my favorite neck finishes, but it's cold and my neck is cold. And while we have not had first snow yet, I am absolutely dreading the cold. So I absolutely will need that turtleneck in just a few more days. It's getting quite chilly here. Although today is unseasonably warm. It's like 55 degrees out in Fahrenheit. So I don't even need to wear a sweater when I go outside. Very odd. Anyway, that is what I am wearing today. Let's move on to finished objects. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So, finished objects. I have so many. So last time I showed this sock, which is a hand-spun sock from Inglenook Fibers, and I ended up writing up this pattern, which will come out soon, I think, in a few months. I did go back and lengthen the foot, and I won't go on about it because I've already talked about it before, but it is just a plain vanilla DK worsted weight sock with a little heel flap. This one is in a stockinette with like a little garter edge to make the edge easier to pick up right here. I'm so happy with it, and the reason I've not knit a second sock yet is because I'm hoping to demo it for class, which I am teaching about vanilla socks and in all sizes. So here's the second one I've knit. This one's using Knit Picks Simply Wool, and I think, I forget what color it is, but I'll put it like over here or something. But here's a little baby sized one that I've knit up. They have different cuff finishes. So this one is 1x1 rib, and this one is 1x1 twisted rib. And on the pattern and in the class, I'll also be teaching 2x2 rib. And then while this one had the stockinette heel that I just spoke about, this one has a cute little, oh so tiny, slipped stitch heel. So the class is called Choose Your Own Adventure Socks, and I think that's what the pattern is going to be called as well. I'll be teaching the class on, I think, January, that's my baby. I'll be teaching the class on January, on the weekend of 22nd and the 22nd and the 23rd in the afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's a live class for Vogue Knit Live, and it'll be a 4-hour class in 2 parts, so 2 hours and 2 hours. 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday, and we'll be knitting a worsted or DK weight sock, your choice, in this little tiny size. So for first time sock knitters, I think this will be a great class because I'll be teaching not only how to knit a standard heel flap sock, but also how to customize and sub in the heel and the cuff to create like your favorite finish, which is a skill you can take into any sock at all, any sock pattern. So in class, in 4 hours, hopefully, we will finish knitting this tiny little baby one. So it's perfect for a bit of scrap, and then you'll have all the skills you need to knit this sock and the sock on my feet right now, and any sock at all and beyond. So that's exciting. I'll drop the link to the class registration below. If you're a new knitter and you've never knit a sock before, I highly recommend getting into sock knitting. Whether you do it through my class or you learn from like Summer Lee's Sew Basic Socks, which I'll also link below. There's lots of great resources for learning how to knit a basic vanilla sock. And once you get into the groove of sock knitting, I promise it's so rewarding, and now I only wear handed socks. So anyway, I'll put all of that below, all the information about that below. So that's my first finished object. And I just sent the pattern for this class to my tech editor. So after the class, I'll hopefully release it sometime this year. All right, my second finished object, which still has its ends hanging out, is my Arrow to the Moon socks, which I think I showed as whip last time. But I have finished my first sample, and they look like this. So after the cup is just a pretty straightforward sock with the Eye of the Partridge heel. But here is the color work, which I'm so excited and proud about. If you watched my last episode, you know that this yarn was provided by Big Little Yarn Co. And we'll be doing a collaboration drop. I think her yarn kits for these socks will be dropping sometime in February, and then the sock will come out in March. So I'm quite excited. This one just finished tech editing, and it'll be going into testing in a couple weeks probably. Yeah, and my test hauls go out to my newsletter subscribers second, and my coffee monthly members first. So usually my sock test knits fill up pretty quickly, so I don't know that there will be a public test call for this. So if you want to test, if you're interested in testing these socks, highly recommend joining my newsletter or joining my monthly subscription just to get in dips on that. But that's exciting. These are inspired by, and I think I can talk about it now. I've been keeping it a secret for a while, but I'll talk about it now. These were inspired by the cover of a book that's coming out in April. It's called An Arrow to the Moon, and it's by a friend of mine. Her name is Emily Pan. She is a novelist. I have previously read her first novel, very critically acclaimed. It's called The Astonishing Color of After, and it's just one of the most beautiful books about grief, about mental illness, and about coping, and it's just, and about like being a Taiwanese person living abroad. And it's just one of the most beautiful books. So when the cover for An Arrow to the Moon was announced, which I'll pop here, I was so inspired by it, and I sketched up these socks that very same day. And I'm super grateful that Emily has allowed me to use her book as inspiration for this pair of socks. So I'm gonna try to knit up another pair and send them to her as a thanks. So there's more to come when it comes to knitting these socks. Let me show the yarn real quick. So this is what I have left of full skeins. So to knit the sock, you'll actually only need a mini of the Moon Glow. This is the Moon Glow color, but I have a full skein here just because I needed to knit that second sock for the author, Emily. So there's the yarn there. I really have been leaving all my yarns out in the open, which I'm deeply regretting. And I'm about to tell you a horror story. Today I was working on the hems of this shirt, and I went over to my ironing board to press the hem. And on my ironing board, I was really bad about keeping it clear, so I had like a quilting hoop and some fabric just hanging out on there along with my iron. So I lift the fabric to move it out of the way. And on my quilting hoop, there was a huge writhing black crawly bug of some kind, and it had built like an entire cocoon, and it was like this big, the cocoon, and the bug was like the size of my thumb, probably maybe a little bit thicker, and it was just wriggling in there in a half-made cocoon. It's very upsetting. I had to call Roy to come and get rid of it. And the cocoon is still on my, so upsetting. It's still on my quilting hoop, which I may never quilt again, y'all. This is terrible. It's just so upsetting. Anyway, so I'm thinking that maybe my yarns are too exposed and I'm gonna have to find a better way of storing them. That's just what's on my mind lately. I'm sorry, y'all. It's so gross. It's disgusting. And Roy was like, didn't you take a picture for Instagram? And I was like, who on God's earth wants to see this on Instagram? No one. Absolutely no one. Anyway, let's move on to WIP's works in progress. Okay. So earlier you would have seen some footage of me sharing this yarn and winding it up and knitting it, and there it is. This is the second sample for my coloring book raglan. I'll plop the schematic here, but basically it is a cropped, striped version of my coloring book raglan, which is coming out in February, which I've been working on for a while. The first sample was full length and had a shaped sleeve. And while I was knitting it, I liked how wide the sleeve was so much that I made it wide I sketched up like a second sample with no shaping. So it's like a nice big dramatic wide sleeve. Let me put it on so you can kind of see the progress. So it's not blocked, obviously, but you can kind of, oh, hopefully I didn't get makeup all over it. Kind of get an idea of like how wide and fun it is. So I really love this design. I'm really proud of it. It seems like a really basic raglan, but I wanted to make like a really rounded crew shaping with short rows going this way and this way, all the way into the front, so the short rows end like here. So it's a really nice rounded neck drop because, like I said, I don't like necklines that are like all the way up in there. So it's the short rows lift both the shoulders and the back of the neck up, 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 so that the front has this nice drop to it. And the wide sleeve turned out exactly the way I hoped. And it's a more cropped length also. Anyway, I'll show it in more detail when I'm done with the sample. But I'm knitting it right now on the second sleeve. Ooh, I dropped some stitches. Every time. This always happens. I'm knitting it along with my testers right now. So that's been fun. I don't think I've ever done, like I've never run a test knit where I also knitted something up along with the testers. So that's been fun and really fun to see everybody's progress. So that is coming in February. Coloring book raglan. It's called coloring book because the pattern will come with like a free PDF. The PDF will actually just be free to everybody so that you can try it out before you buy it. But it'll come with a PDF of coloring pages for all the bazillion options that you can knit, with the different striping schemes and the different length and shaping options. So that is the coloring book raglan. Alright. Okay, so I'm back. So I think I talked last time about how I got this chestnut merino wool fabric and another slate blue one to make the shirt and some leggings. But while I was sewing up this chestnut shirt, I knew that I needed more base layers because I'm cold. And also because similar ready-to-wear base layers by companies like Smartwool, I couldn't verify that the wool was mulesing free, that the sheep were treated fairly, and I wanted to try to find like mulesing free New Zealand wool. So in comes the fabric store. One of my favorite fabric stores is called The Fabric Store. They're in Australia. And they make these beautiful in-house certified ZQ like New Zealand merino. I've got it in 2 colors. I think this one's called ochre and this one's called dusty orchid. So these will be turning into more grain line lark tees. I really love this pattern, obviously, because I've now made 2 of it and this will be my 3rd and 4th. I like it because it has a really good fit. It has some waist shaping so it doesn't bunch up funny under other things that I'm wearing over it. And it's just like the perfect, to me, like the perfect fabric pattern combo. So that's what I will be making with these. And I think that's all I have today. So thank you for watching, and I can't wait to come back soon and share more with you. I'm really hoping that the next time I record, the 2nd coloring book raglan will be done. So if you like this video, subscribe and hit the like. That would really help me out. And I hope to see you soon next time.